There we go. Welcome everyone, and another Happy New Year from me. I've been away for a couple of weeks, and I think some of my YouTube clips have been playing while I've been away. So it's been wonderful to have a break on our journey. We're constantly deepening into this truth, and because it's infinite, no matter where we are in our journey, it's always a deeper and deeper experience that we're calling for, that our heart is desiring, this constant calling out. Take me deeper, make my mind clearer, make me a clearer teacher of God. Show me where any darkness is hiding in my mind. I want to be the clearest, most loving, most open teacher of God that I can for you, because we work for God. Jesus is calling for us to be teachers of God. And so accepting the atonement for ourselves is our job. And then as we live in God's mind of love, and as we open-heartedly love and share this wisdom and allow this communication device to communicate God's love and God's wisdom, then we're really sharpening a knife. We're constantly sharpening this knife by our dedication and devotion to the atonement for ourselves. Just really asking the Holy Spirit, Jesus, please help me be the most clearest vessel that I can be. And I cannot be a miracle worker. I cannot see my brother clearly if I haven't accepted the atonement for myself, for my own mind. So this is our journey, and for me, that's my only prayer to the Holy Spirit is, what is my lesson? Where is any specks of darkness in my mind? And please help me release them, because I don't want them. I do not want any remnants of the ego in my mind. I do not want any judgment. I do not want to see my brother as a body. I want to see him as he truly is. So our dedication and devotion is to the atonement for ourselves. And through that, through us being a clear vessel, from our dedication to our journey within, we can become these clear teachers like Jesus was. He says that we can be exactly like him. We can have this clear mind, the Holy Spirit's mind, which the Course says, he's saying in the Course that that's where he was. He was just clearly living in this wonderful, open, spacious mind of love, the peace that passeth understanding. So as I took my break with this dedication, my internal dedication, which has been, that dedication has been at every single day for the last 4 years, because prior to that I was there wasn't this dedication, and there was conflicting goals in my mind. I still wanted something from this world, and it wasn't until I really saw that there's nothing that can really come from getting anything in this world, and completely giving up the idea that there's something physical like a physical thing, like a new car or a new job or a new relationship that can give me what really my relationship with God gives me. And once we're in a relationship with God, we have everything. And then all we are doing is extending that. We're extending this love, and that's how we receive it. By giving, we're receiving it constantly. And that's so all the laws of living with a God-centered relationship are completely different to the ego's laws, which is the ego looks outside itself, what seems to be outside, because in truth there's nothing outside. But we seem to think that there's something outside of us that can make us happy, and this is just the sleep that the ego mind. We're asleep when we're believing in the ego's mind that there's something outside, because everything is within. Everything is a relationship with God in our mind, and that's where our focus is. And once we have that, we have the love, we have this peace, and it's the true happiness. It is our true place where we're one with God and everything, and it's oneness, and it's awakening. It's awakening to our true self, which is not separate from God. We are not separate. So today I'd like to start with reading a prayer from the back of the Course in Miracles, the later lessons. I'll just call them prayers because they feel more like a prayer. And today's prayer is lesson 330. I will not hurt myself again today. Let us this day accept forgiveness as our only function. Why should we attack our minds and give them images of pain? Why should we teach them they are powerless when God holds out His power and His love and bids them take what is already theirs? The mind that is made willing to accept God's gifts has been restored to spirit and extends its freedom and its joy, as is the will of God united with its own. The self which God created cannot sin and therefore cannot suffer. Let us choose today that He be our identity and thus escape forever from all things the dream of fear appears to offer us. Father, your Son cannot be hurt, and if we think we suffer, we but fail to know our one identity we share with you. We would return to it today and be made free forever from all our mistakes and be saved from what we thought we were. So this is every lesson and every page and all through the text. The message is always the same, but our conditioned mind, the ego mind, is so fearful of trusting God, of we're being asked to deny something, deny our thoughts. He says it's the right use of denial. But this lesson, this little prayer, the first line says, let us this day accept forgiveness as our only function. So really, that's a beautiful teaching in itself, just that one line. if we woke up every day and said, today my only function is forgiveness, and I accept today that my only function is forgiveness. And what is forgiveness? The beautiful line in the course, which is just after lesson 220, which there's a section, what is forgiveness? There's a section that says forgiveness is quiet and does nothing. It looks and waits and judges not. So forgiveness is non-judgment. It also extends to see, looks with the spiritual eye. It sees beyond the body. It doesn't judge what the ego in another is doing. It's forgiveness is a function here while we are still in the ego's mind. And we continue to do forgiveness. I think while we are here, seem to be here in this world of form, which we're told by Jesus that is an ego projected world, it's a world of form, that the reason why this world couldn't have been created by God is that it's a world of separation. It's a world where it seems like everything is separate. So we're seeing separate bodies and separate, what looks like separate people to us. So everything here seems to be that we are a separate body in a separate world. And the only way to awaken is to practice forgiveness with the Holy Spirit. This is with Jesus. Whoever you relate to as a guide, you might have your own guide, you might have angels as guides. It doesn't really matter what guide you use. It's what's most important is that you're choosing something else than your ego. Because when we find ourselves here, we think we're born into a body where with our right mind, or our mind of the Holy Spirit, is completely out of awareness. Generally, some minds are born with some inkling, or some they seem to have very early on in what seems their life here. They seem to have some seeing as a young child. But for my mind, I feel that wasn't really the case. I had an affinity for Jesus, but I didn't really have any what you might call revelations or mystical experiences as a child. I would call what I would say a spiritual dummy. And that's not a judgment, that's just something I say for fun. It's meant to be laughable. It's meant to just really, it's just something that is said so that if you've not had any deep sort of spiritual, mystical experiences as some minds have, then it's very easy to compare and say this, I'm not as spiritual, it's going to take me a long time to awaken, I've not had any inkling about this. So I guess my journey, where my mind teaches from, is that either did I. I feel like the only thing I could say is that I had, as a child, I had some sort of knowing that Jesus was this beautiful light, and that there was sort of some connection in my mind with him when I went to church. We were Catholics. We went to church, and when there was something about when the priests talked about Jesus that I really connected to. And when I heard about his love, I think I heard about stories about him not being scared of the lepers and just going up and taking their hands. And I think I was a little bit confused about his miracles because I thought he had some special power. But what I've come to see, which has been now corrected, is that he didn't have any special power in his body or something like a Superman superpower. It was that he just had a clear mind. That's why he says we can do exactly what he did and more. Because he's telling us it's not special, it's ordinary. This is natural. This is natural for us to be in the mind of God, in the one mind. Now, with the Course, it takes us from being in the wrong mind, which is the ego's fearful mind, which is the mind that only sees a physical world. It believes in the physical world. It believes its thoughts. It thinks the world is doing things to it. It thinks the world is outside it and the characters are real in terms of that they can affect me, and that the wrong mind is completely asleep thinking it's identified as a body. It identifies itself as a limited body, and its whole thought system is about being a body. Every thought, if you look closely and drill down into each thought, the thought's always about relating to being a body in a world. And if we relate to being a bit of hair and a bit of skin and a bit of bone, and we believe that this is us, we will live a life in constant anxiety, because the ego is saying, excuse me, the ego's thought system says, I can save you, I can help you, I can keep you safe. So we say to the ego, okay, how can you do that? So we're asking our thoughts, you know, where is happiness? What's next? Where can I find happiness? And the ego says, in the body, protect the body. It convinces us we are a body. And then it says, your safety is in the body. So keep yourself safe. But then what it also says is, its message is also that that your body can be killed. So it's actually, when you look clearly at the ego's thought system, it's actually contradicting, and you cannot find safety in a body, because its message tells you, come to me, I'll keep you safe. And I forget God, don't worry about God, he's not interested in you. He's going to punish you if he finds out all the bad things you've done and how terrible you are. So the ego tells you to not go to God and that you're your own, that you can find happiness and security with the ego. But then the ego identifies you as a body, and then the identification as a body is going to be, the body dies. It says, well, if you're the body, and the body can get, so you look out in this world and you see bodies getting sick and dying. So that's why we're anxious, because we're in a mind, which is the wrong mind, that says, I am a body. This is the ego mind. It says, I am this body and I am separate to other bodies and I can get sick and I can die. And this is why we're anxious, because the ego is saying go to the body for safety, but then the next thought is that the body is vulnerable to sickness and death. So this is why anyone that's here in this world is anxious, because it's the ego. That's why there's no private thoughts, because the ego's thought system is in everyone's minds that's here. That's why every mind is anxious. That's why every single mind here is looking outside itself for something to make it better. That's why we overeat. That's why we go into many relationships looking for something. That's why bodies try to get some relief from drugs or alcohol or sex or something, because it's looking for some relief from this thought system that says find happiness here, and then it says there's no happiness, and then it says find happiness here, find security here. There's no security, there's no happiness. So what happens is, as we start to realise that this thought system and this world that we seem to be in, there's no way out, we come to a place where we see that there's nothing in this world that's going to take us anywhere. And that's when we start to want to commit suicide. And we start to get very, very depressed, because we've been searching. And the ego mind is seek and do not find. So someone recently asked me around, I have done some videos on suicide because I was asked to do them, and they're on my YouTube channel. I've got 2 there, because the ego in my mind was telling me, once you get to see that there's actually nothing here that can give you happiness, and that you're scared of God, the ego says, God's not going to help you. And then it convinces you to kill yourself as the best option. So this is still the ego mind, because we're operating within an egoic mind. So it convinces you the best solution would be to kill the body. So, but what happens is, I think there comes a stage where there's a calling out for God, and that's what happened for me. I think there was just something that just called out and just said, look, there's got to be another way. I don't think killing the body is what's going to help. And I had been reading the course, and it seemed that what we're called to do is completely give ourselves over to God. And each mind will, it says in the Bible, all knees will bend. Because it's very easy for the ego to turn around and say, oh, go and look at them, they're happy. There is some happiness to be found. But when you truly look at every single, what seems to be different people here in this world, you'll find that there's always suffering. And the ego wants to hide this. It's a funny thought system in that truly it's not real and it's false. And it's hard because the awareness of that we never separated from God, and that we are as God created us, and we're this beautiful, magnificent love of God, and we're spirit, that we're not a body. Because we're so asleep, it takes quite a dedication and quite a lot of practicing of forgiveness and working with the Holy Spirit or Jesus to actually get to our right. Well, we're in our right mind, but to get to the one mind. So he talks about the wrong mind, the right mind, and the one mind. So when we're in our wrong mind, we're identifying as a separate self. And Jesus says, so did he. He was the first one to awaken clearly, and he brings this message he brings this message through a channel, into a book, to help us. And this message that Helen heard isn't special. What she heard, we can all hear. We have this ability to hear this message for ourselves. But to start with, you might need to read it. But what we're asking to do is to develop our connection to the Holy Spirit in our minds. We're asked to trust. We're asked to quieten our mind. He's asking us to really get quiet. And our function now is to awaken to the love of God. We've never left God's mind. And the body starts to lose this as we very, very gently work with the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit knows we're going to have fear, and knows that we've been very attached to being a body and thinking that we're here in this world and that there's something in this world for us to make us happy. Just a moment, at Joy. I'll just finish what I was going to say here. I got a question about what happens when our spirit. Actually, I'm just going to go and read your message here. Does the Course say anything about what happens to spirits who kill their own bodies? Other traditions say it's sacrilege and there will be a purgatory or worse on the other side for that soul. Okay, so this is, thanks for that message. I'll just call you Joy. No, committing suicide there's no purgatory, there's no terrible thing that happens when you commit suicide. Because what happens is the truth is there's only God's mind, and God's mind is formless. So when you're quiet, when you quieten your mind and you have some sort of revelation experience, or you experience this peace of God, you're experiencing it in your mind. Now, you can't find mind, right? Some people think it's around their head, but actually, when you really think about it, you can't find mind, but you can feel an experience of this peace and love, okay? So that's what God's mind is. It's actually thoughtless. You'll have practical thoughts of how to do things in the world. But actually what gets taken away are the fear thoughts, or the judgment thoughts, or the blame. Everything just dissolves. And that's why he calls it the quiet mind. When you awaken, you're just in a peaceful mind. You have the peace of God. And it sees with spiritual sight And the eyes that are seeing this world still see the world, but it sees, but it's not. The mind is the mind of God that you're joined back with, where you're never separated from, is the interpreter. So you're interpreting everything from the beautiful love of God. So everything else is a dream. Okay, so the fact that we think we're here in bodies in a world is a dream. It's a dream world. So you'll never be in a body. This is a virtual reality or a dream where you've tried to separate and you've forgotten that you've tried to separate. So we have to acknowledge that we've forgotten that we wanted to hide out from God and get away from God because we thought we'd sinned. So the prodigal son parable is really clear in the Garden of Eden, where we ate from the tree of knowledge, which is they're all stories, and the Course has its own way, that we had a thought that we could be separate from God. So the reason why, what happens is, if you're a dream figure and the dream figure commits suicide, it just comes back as another body and it starts all over again. There's no bad thing that happens to the body or the mind from committing suicide, because you just come back again and you start from where you left off in the previous life. So he says in the Course, awakening is not from death, it's from truth. You can only, leaving this world doesn't happen from death. So even if a body tries to kill itself to get away from the ego is not transcended through death. The body is just that ego part, the fragmented part of the ego will just come back again into another body. So when we were supposedly in this body, the truth is we've had thousands and thousands of lives. And you might remember some lives or you might not. But that's not important. It's important if it helps you in your journey to awakening. But don't spend time studying your previous lives and thinking it's really interesting and amazing because you're studying a dream. Really be dedicated to joining with the Holy Spirit in helping you see everything differently here. So let us this day accept that forgiveness is our only function. So forgiveness, he says many times, is our only function. So it's a commitment to the atonement. Today I'm committed to working with the Holy Spirit to correct all errors in my mind. And that's what I shared initially when I opened this talk, is that's all I'm dedicated to. So, and I have been dedicated that for 4 years, and I have, when I say there has been experiences of revelation, of awakening, and I've now lived in God's mind for 3 years. So it must be 5 years since I committed to the Course, because it took 2 years of complete dedication on the timeline. January 2013, I just decided I wasn't going to do anything else except what Jesus was instructing me in the Course, because I fundamentally knew that nothing works here. And I think that when you are feeling like committing suicide, it's really, it's actually a good thing in a way, because there's a getting up that there's anything here worthwhile. And we have to see that there's no true happiness that comes from beliefs that bodies, that anyone, that an ego really, because when we're looking at someone here in this dream, when we're looking at a body, from the ego's perspective, we look at our partner or our family or our children, and the ego says, if they would just be like this, I would be happy. So the ego is always trying to get something from another body. It wants to get the right words said, it wants to get the right actions. Its constant message is, when they change into how I want them to be, I will be happy. So Joy's just written, I wonder if the afterlife between life experience and spirit is also a dream. It is. It is. If you read Disappearance of the Universe, and this was just clarified by Arten Purser, it's possibly in the Course. I haven't seen it. Happy for someone. And that can be a dream of a happy or unhappy one. Yes, it could be, but remember that what we're dealing with is either just love and fear. So if you are feeling like committing suicide, I would say two things: that you're better off to try to awaken in this lifetime. Committing suicide, you're just going to come back and you're going to be exactly where you are. It's not going to be any better or worse, because the suffering is from the mind. So try to just what your mind is coming to see is the loop that I was sharing before, the loop that there's no happiness to be found here. Now, whether when your body, if you do commit suicide and your body doesn't operate anymore, and you come back in the dream again as another one, and whatever happens in between, it can't be worse than the suffering you're feeling now, because when you feel suffering to want to commit suicide, it's terrible suffering. So this is where you really have to get down on your knees, and you really have to ask God to come and help you. So this is where we see, we really, there's like Jesus calls it the little gap, where it's actually a really good thing when you really see that there's nothing here. There's only God's love, and there's only God. That's why the truth is there is only God, and there's nothing else. But while we're believing that there's something else, like bodies in a world here, He will work with us. So the Holy Spirit works with where we're at. So the Holy Spirit knows what we believe in, and we can't deny it. There's no use denying it, because that doesn't help. We have to use the Holy Spirit in our mind to undo these false beliefs. And it takes as long as it takes. But if you've got, just use your time here to ask the Holy Spirit to help reinterpret everything, and keep reading the Course, and keep doing its lessons, and keep reading the text, and keep listening to teachers, clear teachers. Ask the Holy Spirit, who should I listen to? And the teachers will move around at certain times of your journey. you find that I've always thought that the journey to awakening is like being a hitchhiker on the road, where you're walking on a road and a teacher pulls up and you jump in the car with them and you listen to them or talk to them for a while, and then you get off and then you jump into another car. And each teacher will help you, and it illuminates something in your mind to truth. And you might stay in that one car for quite a long time, but eventually you're where you are as the hitchhiker. You're really coming to see that you are the Holy Spirit. And in the end, you don't need any teachers and you don't need any vehicles. You realise that you've reached the destination and you really haven't gone anywhere to get there. You've come back. So the awakening is undoing. It's not getting a better ego. It's undoing the ego, undoing the mind that believes it's a thought system. That's all the ego is fear thoughts, judgment thoughts. So you've got to work with your thoughts. So whatever you can do to undo or weaken the thoughts, just do that. We're not asked to awaken really quickly because it can be too fearful. But the truth is that we are created by God, as this beautiful, amazing, perfect, magnificent love of God. And we can still seem to be in a body and have this love as our way of life. We can be in the peace of God, and then the body is just used as a communication device, a little bit like Arten and Versa. Their bodies were projected back into the dream to give a little bit of a clarification around the course to Gary. And their message was not to make a big deal out of our bodies, because no body is real. No particular body has any reality, but it can be used while you're here. And you will have doubt. Doubt will come and go. And every time you have some doubt about this message, you just need to give it to the Holy Spirit. If you have any problems at all, what seem to be problems, just wrap them up in a big bundle of love. Put a big blanket around them, bundle them up, tie it all up, and just put it on the altar for the Holy Spirit. Say, here, Holy Spirit, especially if you're having trouble sleeping. It's a lovely one. Just wrap it all up in a beautiful big blanket and say, Holy Spirit, you have all these problems, you have my guilt, you have my idea that I've sinned, you have everything. Yeah, whatever your mind is troubled about, just put all those thoughts, all those worries in a big blanket, tie it all up and put it on the altar of the Holy Spirit and give it to Him. As Jesus says, cast your cares upon me. And then just say, help me see this differently. And just say it with all your heart. Help me see this differently. Above all else, I want to see. And it's got nothing to do with the eyes. It's got to do with illumination in your mind of what's really true. But you will start to experience this world very differently. You might start to see more light. This world is a projection. It is a false world. It's a false world of separation. And it was created because the Son of God has such a powerful, we are so powerful, our minds are so powerful, we were able to project a world of seemingly separation. And so I was reading a section this morning about something about being a miracle worker, and it was saying how, it was talking a little bit about sickness and how we use remedies in this world and the belief in them. And I've talked a little bit about this before, about, and I'm always, spirit seems to always lead my mind into being like a virtual reality. We've got our virtual reality glasses on, and who we are is formless love. Just this beautiful love of God. So pure and so white and so open-hearted. But we put our virtual reality glasses on and we want to be, we think we can be more powerful than this love of God. And we think we're an orphan, that God's left us. And I was just thinking, because I do share about the virtual reality concept, which is really helpful. You can use the dream or the virtual reality. And I was thinking about how we use medication. So you can imagine putting on your virtual reality glasses and start believing you're an avatar. And I know when you put those virtual reality glasses on, you can sometimes, it looks like you're a body, so you can actually, like, you'll see your hands coming out in front of you. And then I just was thinking about, imagine you think, oh, I'm sick, I've got a pain in my body as the avatar, and then another character turns up in the virtual reality and says, here, I've got the remedy, and it gives you some white pills. And your mind says, these pills will help me, and they'll fix me. So you take them, but you're never actually swallowing them, but it looks like you're swallowing them because you take them and you put them, it looks like, in the mouth. And you get better because you believe, because you've been convinced by the other characters in the virtual reality that this is what the remedy is. And that's what it's like here. We believe, we've got very strong belief in what things do. And that's okay. He says, well, you have a belief that particular things here can heal you, to keep using them, but to really look at that, that you're a mind, you're not a body, you are spirit or mind. I like the word mind now. I used spirit for many years, but for some reason I connect more with the word mind. And mind isn't located in Cate. The mind isn't in the body. The mind is outside the body. So this is my experience now. I'm experiencing my mind is everywhere, in everything. It's not located, although it's used now to come through this vessel, which looks like a body. And it says in the Course that that the thoughts that come through, the true thoughts that come through, they can be given by minds that aren't in bodies or seem to be in bodies. So it's like there's a lot of help around us. It's like, well, there's only one mind, but that is illuminating through you, just very, very, very slowly, giving yourself over. So while we're in our wrong mind, we need to practice forgiveness, and that forgiveness is the miracle. So the miracle is the shift from fear to love, and the shift as we undo the fear, we start to experience more and more the love of God, the love, mind of love. So the miracle is a means The miracle is a means of waking up. It's a tool. So we use the Holy Spirit. So we're in fear. We give it to the Holy Spirit. We accept the atonement by accepting the atonement is saying, I'm in fear. Can you please help me? I give this fear to you. What's your perspective? Holy Spirit, give me your perspective. Help me see this differently. And as we wait and we quieten our mind, and the Holy Spirit illuminates the truth into our mind, the right mind starts to be coming more and more of where we live from, of where our mind is focused. And we start to live in the right mind. That's the right mind. But there is a stage where we get to the one mind. And the one mind is where it's different to the right mind. The one mind is if you've had a revelation experience or we've awakened, you'll know the one mind. The one mind is the mind of God living there, which it sees very differently. It sees only God. It sees only love. It sees only perfection. It sees itself everywhere, and it's not located. It doesn't have a referencing back to a self, a separate self. It's free of egoic fear thoughts, and those thoughts are always based around the idea that there's a separate self here. So I'm not sure whether this is making sense, but they're the only words that I can say. We have to work with our beliefs and our thoughts and do the forgiveness. We're forgiving our brother for what he didn't do, because if the ego is nothing, everything it does is nothing. So it's never doing anything. So that's our journey. That's what we are today. I've only read lesson 330. I will not hurt myself again today. Let us this day accept forgiveness, the only function. Why should we attack our minds and give them images of pain? Why should we teach them they are powerless, and God holds out his power and his love, and he bids them take what is already theirs. So God's saying to us, God is so magnificent. He's not a man or a woman. And it's so abstract, but really what God is an experience. God is the experience of this holiness. That's all God is. It's a love beyond anything that we can ever experience here while we're in our ego mind. So I might just read another prayer to finish, and I might just go back one prayer. Then read prayer lesson 329. I have already chosen what you will, Father. I thought I wandered from your will, defied it, broke its laws, and interposed a second will more powerful than yours. Yet what I am in truth is but your will, extended and extending. This am I, and this will never change. As you are one, so am I one with you. And this I choose in my creation, where my will became forever one with yours. That choice was made for all eternity. It cannot change and be in opposition to itself. Father, my will is yours, and I am safe, untroubled, and serene, in endless joy, because it is your will that it be so. That's a beautiful way to finish. Remember that eternity is not in a timeline. It's always now. It's eternity is always now, and it's the eternal now, which is the infinite now, which never ends. So as you're listening to me, you're in the now. So there's no past or present, there's only ever now. And this now is the eternity. It's not a beginning and an end. It's a timeless, eternal, infinite now, where your mind is with God, and it's always there. It's always in its joy. And the only thing that can stop you being in God's mind is a thought of separation. So the thought that I can be separate from God didn't happen 2 billion years ago, or 1 million years ago, or 2,000 years ago. It's happening right now, because there's an infinite, timeless now that can be experienced. And without that thought of separation, you're in it, and you can find that right now. Don't have to wait. So I'm going to say goodbye and bless you. The hour's up. I love you. I bless you. And I honour you as the pure Christ self that you are, as the innocent, guiltless, sinless essence of God that you are. You are all of it. There's nothing that you are not. You're all God, and God is perfect love, so you are perfect love, created as perfect love. So thank you, and I'll just get back to this. Oops, hang on. Just a moment. I've just got myself. I just got myself out of the program, so I'll just give the microphone back. Thanks to everyone at Awakening Together for their dedication and love to offer these programs. And have a beautiful day. Goodbye. And I'll just end this recording. Good night.